Also ahead, she's one of the African-American women working behind the scenes to make space flight possible. We're going to sit down with rocket scientist and author Olympia LePoint to talk about her time at NASA.
I'm a Negro woman. I'm not going to entertain the impossible.
And I'm a Polish Jew whose parents died in a Nazi prison camp. Now I'm standing beneath a spaceship that's going to carry an astronaut to the stars. Let me ask you, if you were a white male, would you wish to be an engineer?
I wouldn't have to. I'd already be one.
Hidden Figures is this year's winner of the SAG Award for Best Ensemble Cast. Film shined a light on African-American women as programmers and engineers for our space program in 1962.
Decades later, women of color still struggle to attain an orbit of equal education and opportunity. One success story is award-winning rocket scientist and author Olympia LePoint. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure, and really so impressive. When just this fact alone, you helped launch 28 space shuttle missions using your calculations for the probability of catastrophic explosions in space.
Wow.
Yes.
So what initially, as maybe a little girl, what piqued your interest in math and science, and were you always good at that?
Oh, well, it's so fascinating what you say. I am a rocket scientist, and people are surprised about that. And I remember going to JPL, which was the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, when I was 6 years old. And I saw this mission control room, and I saw these pictures of men launching rockets, and I say, I want to be just like those men, not recognizing that I was a little different here. But it was a trial to go through that. I wanted to be a rocket scientist, but I failed algebra. I failed geometry. I failed calculus and chemistry. And it wasn't until a 11th grade teacher sat down and showed me how my brain worked and how beautiful all of our brains can work. And so from that experience, I found out that I could actually be a rocket scientist.
So there's hope for all of us, right? Who struggle in math and science.
All of us.
Maybe not for us, but we're glad you succeeded. But you have talked about you didn't have the easiest life growing up, and that people should have different pathways to education.
It's very interesting. I grew up in South Central Los Angeles in the 1980s, and it was a place heavily ladled with gang violence. Poverty was something that our family lived through, and each day I would be excited to go to school, not just for the education, but because I would have a meal. And I realized through that entire process is that we grew up in such a very difficult area. For example, our mother had to sleep in a certain direction in the bed, so if the bullets came through the wall, it would hit our feet first, not through our head.
Oh my God.
So this is heartbreaking to even think
Yes.
that your mother had to think about that.
Yes, but education is what changed that.
Yeah.
And I am so thankful that the movie Hidden Figures has come out because we see individuals like myself, like Katherine Johnson, and for the actresses that play in Hidden Figures, we see individuals highlighting science and technology, engineering and mathematics, and letting people know that through this education, we can do anything that we want to do.
Well, talking about education, what is your opinion on a greater emphasis in schools for science, technology, engineering, and math, which is known as STEM? And I think it's interesting what you said as a 6-year-old little girl, because we just did a study the other day that they realize at age 6, little girls is when they first realize they're not as good as little boys.
Or they start to think.
Yeah. When they get to such a young age to already be defeated in that sense. It is really sad. So what do you think about encouraging, especially little girls, in STEM?
That's such an excellent question. In my book, Mathophobia, I talk about usually at the age of 8, 6 to 8 is the time in which people define themselves and define where it is that they're going, and they make assessments on what they believe about themselves. And in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, that is the cornerstone, and that is the only way that the entire United States can move forward. We saw that in Hidden Figures, that everyone had a push to go towards the moon at the time. There's still that push, but that science and technology, it is the literacy of tomorrow. And when we understand the mathematics, which is the foundation of the chemistry, the physics, the computer science, when we go on social media, all that's mathematical code that's being created, all of that. When we as a nation understand that science, technology, engineering, mathematics is not only for the people that we saw launching rockets, but is for young girls that look like me, young boys that are out there wanting to do that. The education that we have in front of us and the opportunity that we have in front of us in making sure that everyone here in this country is literate in that will allow all of us to succeed.
Great points. And Olympia LePoint is an award-winning rocket scientist and author of the book she talked about, Mathophobia. For more information, check out her website. The information right there on your screen. Thank you so much.
Yeah, pleasure.
Thank you.